Full finish.
You're going to take all the heat.
All right, we'll call our meeting to order. It's 6 o'clock. If you didn't hear the announcement, Bob Stetzel, who's the chairman, has been in Nashville all day having an annual check on his heart, and he's just now leaving Nashville, so he's not going to be able to be here. Who was on track to say the pledge or lead the prayer?
I don't know.
Glenn Steakley, would you lead the prayer for us? Faye, would you lead the pledge?
Let's pray. Gracious, most wonderful Heavenly Father, we come before you humbly to give thanks for this beautiful day that you've given us in this beautiful area of the country where we live. Father, we ask you to be with us tonight as we handle the county's business, and we ask that you give us the knowledge, wisdom, and courage to make the decisions that are best for this county. Father, thank you so much for all we have, for all we enjoy, and we ask that you forgive us of our sins. It's in Christ your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you both for doing that on short notice. And number 3 on our agenda is the minutes from the April meeting. And you had a 2-page summary or minutes this time, and it had what the votes were and whether it passed or failed. Do you like that better?
I like the format a lot better.
Okay. Is there a motion that are there any other changes that need to be made to them that have been noted? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
I make the motion to approve the minutes of last meeting.
I hear a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We approve the minutes. That's number 4. And now we go to number 5. Is John Naylor here? I don't see Frank Matthews, either one.
I talked to Roy today. He wasn't going to be able to come, and he was explaining that Mr. Frank Matthews, he's a past dispatcher. He retired from AT&T. He's got a business degree, and he's also, and I think this is right, Kevin might can tell me, he's been a reserve for the PD for quite some time. So I think
Frank lives on Locks Creek Road. I know him. His children went to school west side of the mine.
I think with all that experience, he'd be an asset to the 911.
I think he'd be an excellent appointment. Do we need to go ahead and appoint him without he or John or anybody being here?
That'd be fine.
I think the board's already recommended him to take that place,
That's
so
fine. That's
I'll make
fine.
a motion we approve him.
I'll second.
All right, motion been made by Kevin Mooneyham, second by Todd. Take the roll.
Mark Barker.
Yes?
Russell Lee.
Yes.
Todd Osborne.
Yes.
Jimmy Nagle.
Yes.
Jim Lewis.
Yes.
Kevin George.
Yes.
Ken Higgins.
Yes.
Tony Deal.
Yes.
Kevin Mooney.
Yeah.
All right. Number 6. Got a request to approve the resolution to accept the construction bids on the Farmers Market building. And you have it there in your packet. The bid was the amount of $15,509 by Brad Slater Construction. As you know, the Farmers Market building is going to be down at the Arts Center location.
Have they ever determined where they're gonna put it? And if what they said where they were gonna put it, is it in the floodplain?
I think
Everything basically except for the Art Center building itself in the floodplain according to the comptroller's map and that.
It depends on whether you're talking about a 500-year flood or 1,000. I mean,
I thought
We're talking about
yeah, well, I mean,
about an
I've
every 2 or 3 year
I've
flood.
seen it up in it. This building, though, is not gonna be one that a flood will bother as much as it would the Art Center. It's gonna be basically,
Concrete pad, doesn't it?
yeah, and a shelter.
Water goes underneath the concrete pad.
And it's a shelter. It'll have posts all the way in the ground, I think, but I'm not certain now. Will it? I don't know. I haven't seen the plans. Have you?
Well, nobody's seen the plans. But we were told it was gonna be built in such a way that it could handle that.
Yes.
But it would be nice to see the plans before we
Well,
take
if they
accept the bids
plans-
on it.
The plans, number one, right here, have been prepared by James C. Haley and Company, and they're a very reputable engineering firm, and, whatever they say will work, they're gonna have to stand behind it, and also, they've got a lot of experience in building all types of buildings.
It'd be nice to know how much fill, if any, they're gonna put in there to set this on too.
Thad, do you know anything about it? The farmer's market,
How much fill?
where it's gonna be
Bring it up.
located, how level it is?
I just know it's all the way at the end of the parking lot, and I think it's on a slab.
Okay, Diane, do you know?
It's more like a pavilion, but it will have a concrete bottom.
Yeah.
But how much fill are they gonna haul in
I
to
don't know.
bring it up?
Yeah, I
Keep
don't know.
some water out of it.
See, that's always been my concern about this whole deal. If you put it in a floodplain, it comes and washes it out, there you go. We blow this money.
Well,
And it's on private property.
Exactly.
The USDA had to approve, we had to send them copies of everything to do with the flooding, and they've approved all that.
USDA approved it where it is. The bridge there holds a lot of the rushing water back. It might have some backwater, but it would, I mean, it's not gonna be up there, every month or anything like that. I've lived on the river,
Does the USDA come in and will they inspect it before we get our money?
probably. Any other discussion on, the farmer's market building package?
Wonder how soon they can start it, once they get the okay and get it passed. I mean, are they gonna
I'd
be
say
waiting on
pretty
us for a
quick.
while?
I'd say pretty quick. It's just my estimation.
Well, I think it's been passed, by the USDA and all those that okay it. I make a motion to grant the money, because we've already
Okay.
adopted it.
Okay, got a motion by Jimmy to pass this resolution to put in our part of it. You'll hear a second. Did I miss something?
No, I second it.
Second, Clint second, okay.
Sorry.
Call the roll, Bobby.
Mark Barker,
Yes?
Russell Reed,
No,
Todd Hollenberg,
Yes.
Jimmy Mayer.
Yes,
Jim Wood,
Just like I said, I don't have a problem with doing this, but I have a problem with where it's located. I vote no.
Kevin George,
Yes.
Clint Higgins.
Yes.
Tony Neal.
Yes.
Kevin Mooneyham.
Yeah.
Motion passed. 7 for, 2 against, 1 passed.
Okay. Number 7, approve the resolution on the litter grant. We've done this every year for several years. State puts out a grant to help pick up the litter on the sides of the road, and it has been declining in amount for the last few years, but we still want to get our part of it. Any questions on that, or do I hear a motion? Any discussion? Make a motion. Kevin George made a motion. Here a second?
anybody got an idea how much this grant's gonna be?
33,700.
How much?
33,700.
Did you hear her? 33,700 will be the amount of the grant. And it's for the next fiscal year, right? Okay, and Todd, you seconding it?
Yes.
Todd Howard, seconding it?
Mark Barker,
Yes.
Russell Reed,
Yes.
Todd Osborne,
Yes.
Jimmy Mayer,
Yes.
Tim Bush,
Yes.
Kevin Jordan.
Yes.
Brad Higgins.
Yes.
Tony Neal.
Yes.
Kevin Mooney.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Number 8, approve ambulance heart monitor units. Have Ricky Cope here. And it's a resolution for a 3-year note. Is that right?
Yeah.
Not to exceed $80,000. Ricky, would you like to make any more comment?
Okay, I think the approval was for 90, but we spent 80.
Okay,
I have a question.
okay, go ahead and ask.
On our budget amendment for county general, down at the bottom, it's got 75,883. Is the 75,883 and the 20,000? Is the total that we spent 95,883?
No, that's for the ambulance. We've already bought. I'm just amending where we got.
So this is a whole different thing than what we're looking at.
This has got to be passed before the bill
All right.
in the budget.
Right.
So we don't know how much that's going to be yet. Just can't be over 80,000 on that note.
Yeah, he knows what.
It is 80.
It is 80, yeah.
Okay.
You all approved 90.
Yeah.
Spent 80.
That's good.
$10,000 put her on the total.
All right. Anything else you want to add, Rick? Anybody got a question?
Motion to approve.
Kevin Mooneyhan made a motion to approve. Do you hear a second?
I'll second.
Clint, seconded. Call the roll. Clint Higgins?
Mark Barker,
Yes.
Russell Reed,
Yes.
Todd Osborne,
Yes.
Jimmy Mayer,
Yes.
Tim Bush,
Yes.
Kevin Jordan,
Yes.
Brad Higgins.
Yes.
Tony Neal,
Yes.
Kevin Mooney.
Yes.
Thank you. Number 9 is the county general budget amendments, and we were just in noting them. There's 1 page of them. The county coroner and medical examiner, we need to amend it. And then, do we want to do these one at a time? Okay. You want to do a voice vote on them, or just, or call a roll on them? We'll start on the county coroner medical examiner. Todd, you know about that, and Diane, you just jump in if
Well, every year we have more autopsies. I mean, and that's not gonna change, I don't think. And I think this is just moving them from one account to the other, just balancing the books right now,
Right, it's just.
until the end of the year.
Autopsy, it just keeps going over because I just amend it as we go.
Okay. You're amending it as we
So
go.
I have to do it one more time.
No way to predict how many.
We've had to pay these autopsies, and it needs to be amended. Any other questions?
And then we're actually gonna have a little money left on that gasoline line, that's why I took some of it from there, instead of all of it out of fund balance.
All right. So some of it's coming out of gasoline, and that gasoline was the whole big gasoline budget. It wasn't, there's no gasoline budget for the coroner medical examiner. That was the big amount that we approved for gasoline, because we didn't know what the price was gonna do and how much we were gonna spend.
And this is the first year we've actually had a medical examiner budget, just so everybody knows it's.
Any other questions, anyone? You gonna call a roll or vote by voice?
That we ain't gonna go over on what we budgeted to spend or
Gasoline?
on anything, on our fund balance.
Oh, no, I'm keeping up with it.
Okay.
All right, call a roll, Bobby. Call a roll.
Voting on both of them?
No, we're voting on the county medical examiner.
Okay. Need a motion,
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Here a second.
who's second?
Kevin did.
Okay, Mark Barker.
Yes.
Russell Reed,
Yes.
Todd Osborne.
Yes.
Jimmy Mayer.
Yes.
Tim Bush,
Yes.
Kevin Jordan,
Yes.
Brad Higgins.
Yes.
Tony Neal.
Yes.
Kevin Mooney.
Yeah.
Motion passed.
All right, the second one is other public safety under Homeland Security and hazardous mitigation. Diane, would you give us a quick rundown of it?
Well, basically, I'm just covering what we've received and what we've spent. And one of those is that 50,000 that I already brought before you. I can't remember the date on that, but y'all didn't approve it. If we don't approve it, we're gonna go over budget and there'll be a finding. I mean, we got the money and we spent the money, and I have a copy of all the receipts to show, to prove that it all did come in and it's all been spent.
Okay, that's the 50. And the 57 is another Homeland Security grant.
It's a bunch of different, like part of it's hazardous mitigation and part of it's Homeland Security.
Okay. Do you have a comment on it?
On the 50,000?
Either one of them.
Oh, the 50,000 has been in-house.
We've had the money and we put it through our books and it's got to be noted or the auditors will make a finding of it.
It came in year before last, didn't it?
Right, it came in September of 2011, but we didn't spend it till this budget year.
Right.
So we already had the money.
Okay. And the question last month was it noted and made our fund balance look wacky?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer was no. It was not gonna look wacky.
We have enough in fund balance.
Yeah, it was right in there like it's supposed to be.
Okay, now I've sort of got a problem with that though. I've got records here showing that the grant come in September the 25th, 2011. It didn't go into general fund, it went into the Homeland Security.
That is the general fund. I mean, it's just, the Homeland Security is just a line.
It's just a line item for county general. Go ahead.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He was saying that it went into general fund, but it says here it went into Homeland Security.
But that
So
is
why shouldn't it come out of the Homeland Security line instead of coming out of fund balance?
Because it was a different year. If it's in a previous year.
Everything at the end of the year that's left over automatically rolls to the fund balance.
That was
for general fund.
that was our question last month. Was it came in one line. It's going out of a different line in a different year. And that was why we were wanting to know what the deal was.
So if you've got money left over in one line, you can't carry that money over in that same line to the next year?
That's right.
Nope. It all goes back to general fund.
Whether it's
back out to them again.
Whether it's the register of deeds or.
That's why everybody runs out of the
whoever.
last 2 weeks to try to spend all their money.
But I will, as long as I've been commissioner, I've not seen any frantic last minute spending that I noted. It could have been some that I didn't see.
I think they think of stuff that they meant to get and they go get it right quick. But I haven't ever seen like a big pile come in right at the end.
I haven't either.
We always spend it off.
They usually tell you to not spend on that for June 1st.
That's right. And the county executive's office has been for years notifying all the department heads, hey, get everything in line here so we can be as accurate as possible. Okay. Any other discussion on this number 2 here on other public safety? Do I hear a motion?
What is a hazardous mitigation thing? I read that in we're voting on it in a minute. Do we need to wait till the end to talk about it?
That's the plan that we've been working on since in January. Y'all voted to do it, and there's a resolution or whatever to accept it tonight.
Yeah.
And this is where she's moving the money that's coming from the federal government, where they have been receiving their money, and it transfers it.
Okay.
It's all, the money comes in, it's just transferred to cover the checks.
All right. Do I hear a motion to approve it?
Motion to approve. Wait a minute, I got another question.
Okay, go ahead.
Since we've got a Homeland Security board or whatever, did they see this amendment and go over it? And
I don't think they have to, but I don't know. All I'm doing is covering the budget. That's the only thing I'm doing.
And if we don't cover this budget, we're going to get written up by the auditors for not noting that this money came in and went out. See, they want you to have record and us vote that, yes, it did go out.
The reason there was such a lengthy time that we have held the money before the trailer came, we had to transfer money out of our UIZ grant, of the 09 grant and the 08 grant, because the tower couldn't be completed on time. So we transferred money that was gonna buy the mass casualty trailer. We moved it into a different year line and then transferred tower money into that year. So Cannon County had to go ahead and take that money a year ahead of time, and then the district didn't order the other 5, 6 trailers until the next year. And that's why our money sat here until all the trailers came in.
And when you say the district, you mean this multi-county district that we're a
Right,
member
they
of?
ordered a trailer for each county got a trailer.
Okay. Kevin Mooneyham, you got another question, Tony?
No.
That does kind of bring up the question, what's the point of having the board, having that committee if you're not gonna, if it's not gonna look at
Got a
anything?
motion, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Todd Hansworth, seconded, call the roll. Kevin Mooneyham?
Mark Barton.
Yes.
Russell Reed.
Yes.
Todd Hollingsworth.
Yes.
Jim Daniels.
Yes.
Jim Bush.
Yes.
Kevin George.
Yes.
Glenn Higgins.
Yes.
Tony Meade. Kevin Mooney.
Yes.
All right.
I think he voted for you.
And now the third county general budget amendment is other capital outlay. And this is the ambulance service. And we just now talked about it. Any questions on it? Any discussion on it? Do I hear a motion to approve it?
I'll make a motion.
Tony did, Clint seconded. Call the roll.
Mark Barton.
Yes.
Russell Reed.
Yes.
Todd Hollingsworth.
Yes.
Jim Daniels.
Yes.
Jim Bush.
Yes.
Kevin George.
Yes.
Glenn Higgins.
Yes.
Tony Meade.
Yes.
Kevin Mooney.
Yes.
All opposed.
Okay, next on our agenda is the sheriff's budget amendments. We have Miss Hilda and the sheriff both here. Let's see if I can find them. Patient charges decrease $145. That's the top line, so you'll know which one it is. The total is $1,685. And she's got a clear explanation written out on each one of them for, you've had plenty of time to read it. And we're gonna do both of these at once, the one on the the sex offender registry and it at the same time.
Might as well.
Okay. Any questions for Darrell or Miss Hilda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Russell, seconded by Kevin George. Call the roll.
Mark Barton.
Yes.
Russell Reed.
Yes.
Todd Hollingsworth.
Yes.
Jim Daniels.
Yes.
Jim Bush.
Yes.
Kevin George.
Yes.
Glenn Higgins.
Yes.
Tony Meade.
Yes.
Kevin Mooney.
Yeah.
All opposed.
All right. Now, number 11. We're called on to adopt a disaster mitigation act with Auburn Town and Woodbury, the two cities within our county. And you're here to talk about it again.
I am. Very briefly, if I might.
And what's your name?
Sharon Armstrong.
Okay. This is Sharon Armstrong, and she's
We've all
got a
met.
slide show for us.
First, I'd like to request, if I might, Mr. Chairman, if we might correct the agenda. The proper title, because this will go to TEMA and FEMA for review, is Hazard Mitigation Plan. If we can make
Okay.
that correction in the minutes.
It's in the paper.
Cynthia or Diane, one, have y'all got that written down so you can get to the right people? It's hazard mitigation, right?
Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Mark out disaster and put hazard.
Yes.
That's what it is on the resolution.
Yeah, the resolution's right, but the agenda is incorrect. Okay.
Yes, sir. We have to send copies of everything to TEMA and to FEMA. Briefly, with the commission's discretion, we have a short presentation for you. If you remember back to January, you approved the appointment of a hazard mitigation planning committee to work on this plan. They have met 7 times since January. It's a broad stroke representative population of the community. This is your hazard mitigation planning committee. They occupy different positions within your county. Some of them are volunteers. The HMPC, the Hazard Mitigation Planning Committee as a whole, elected Ms. Morris as their chairman. Roger Turney from Auburntown is the vice chair, and Roy Sullivan of Emergency Services, Cannon County 911, is your secretary for this committee. The sheriff serves on it, Mr. Pope serves on it, Mr. Warren serves on it. A number of people do. You're represented by the mayors of Woodbury and of Auburntown, along with your county executive. They went through several processes. First, they assessed the risk in your communities. What are your hazard risks, whether they be natural or whether they be technological or man-made? So we did a ton of research, and this is what they came up with. The most significant hazard in your community for natural hazards is flood. And it was ranked that way. Mr. Mooneyham also serves on the committee. It ranked 1 because of the dollar amount of damage and the loss of property damage that occurs with flooding. And this history has been tracked by NOAA and by FEMA and other sources since 1950. Ranking 2nd is tornado, windstorm, hail. They combine those three things together. You rarely ever have tornadoes without windstorms, and they're usually preceded by hail, whether it reaches the ground or not. 3rd, drought, extreme heat, damage to crops, to livestock, and to personal property. And that even includes landscaping, because insurance claims are filed for the death of plants around your house. Winter storm ranked 4th. I think most of you remember the ice storm in 1993. It was called the storm of the century. Wildfire was eliminated by your HMPC. They did not consider it a significant enough threat to your community because you have no actual dollar losses that meet the minimum for FEMA standards for wildfires. Although it's something they're thinking about in dry weather a lot, but they included components of wildfire in the drought extreme heat area of the plan. Earthquake ranked 6th. It's kind of surprising to me that there's earthquake activity, but there actually is in your county, and it's occurred over the last 200 years. It's actually significant enough to be traced
There's a fault
by
line.
the USGS.
There's a fault line runs through Cannon County.
That runs through here. In the man-made or technological hazards, they ask that you review these, research these, and rank these separately for natural as opposed to man-made. Chemical hazards rank number 1. Would somebody like to hazard a guess as to what the number 1 source of chemical hazards in your community might be?
May I?
You share that in common with every single county in the state of Tennessee. Methamphetamine. Dam levee failure. There are a number of dams that surround you. You have a couple of earthen dams within your community.
Lake Hand.
You have 2. Terrorism. We've all seen the news recently, what happens in schools. When someone becomes angry, takes a weapon to school, that is an act of terrorism. I tend to, or I used to think of terrorism as an act by another country against our country, but acts of terrorism also include school shootings. The thing that happened over Mother's Day in New Orleans is an act of terrorism. And then 4th is nuclear incident, ranked 4th, but you're not real close to a nuclear plant. I mean, it's not like right on your doorstep, but there are a number of them within a 55 to 75 mile radius of your location. So that's the hazards that they ranked. They went through a process by which they examined the probability, the impact, the spatial extent, how wide an area could it impact, the warning time, how much time do you have before you know it's coming, how long did it last, and the RF factor is a risk factor rating, and that's the priority that they gave it. So as you can see, when they assessed this through a very complex process, they came up with the ranking that you saw on the previous page, and they matched. We do that as an independent audit of a survey that they do that is somewhat opinion-based, and then we do independent analysis to make sure those 2 things line up, and they did. Critical facilities information, we are still in the process of updating that, but we've gathered a number of structures and locations within your community that are at risk. As an example, if your communication towers went down in the middle of a tornado, that would be a significant impact on your ability to respond. So we try to look at locations where there are large populations, or if something happened to that location, it would either create an impossibility for you to respond and recover, or it would place a population at risk. Some easy examples of that would be nursing homes. It's very difficult within a flood or a tornado to evacuate a nursing home. It's very difficult to respond to their needs because they have special medical needs. So in putting that together, we solicited information from all the HMPC and the community as a whole. It resulted in a rather lengthy list where we are asked to gather not only the latitude and the longitude or the GIS location of that facility, but we're asked to assess a number of other factors, the value, the square footage, what the loss would be. In the event that you experience another disaster in your community, such as a fire or flood or tornado, this information will help you to document what your needs are for assistance from FEMA and TEMA and other federal relief agencies. So we've gathered all that together. It still needs some correction for additional information. We also collected information on your historic structures because they're very important to you. The Art Center is a classic example. It brings in a lot of tourism, a lot of economic development money to your community, so it would be a critical facility. Obviously your schools, your fire departments, and things of that nature are listed as well. Then you develop a mitigation plan. What can I do to lessen the impact of either a natural or a man-made hazard in the future? It's a blueprint to reduce potential losses. In it, you are required to describe what the mitigation goal is, and I'll give you an example of one. Your number one hazard of a natural nature is a flood. So if you're considering what can I do to minimize the impact of a flood, and I ask the city of Auburntown, which roads flood every single time you get more than 2 or 3 inches? Sometimes you can solve that with a mitigation strategy that cleans out the ditch. Sometimes you need a culvert. Sometimes you need to duck it into a drain for a retention pond or some other thing. So we look at common sense measures to reduce the impact that are not only doable, but they're fundable to lessen the burden on your taxpayers. So that's the goal of mitigation. And they look at a number of options for each disaster and for each type of relief. Among that is outreach. The flood insurance program in which you participate, all the cities, Auburntown, Woodbury, and Cannon County, you participate in the National Flood Insurance Program as jurisdictions. You joined at some point, you signed a contract with FEMA, you agreed to adopt an ordinance, and you agreed to implement that ordinance in floodplain management. And I heard you talking about the farmers market building. That's a floodplain management project that needs to be reviewed in the terms of your ordinance and your contract with FEMA by your floodplain administrator before it's installed. Because if it doesn't meet your flood ordinance and FEMA comes to town and looks at the project, you may have issues that result from that. So one of the things that we've advocated is public outreach, education, and training on floodplain management. The secondary impact to your floodplain management program is that flood insurance rates are about to change significantly. All grandfathering or pre-firm structures will be eliminated. I don't mean they'll tear the building down. Their subsidized insurance premiums for pre-firm or pre-federal rate insurance MAP was built in 1950 and the MAP came out in 70. It was grandfathered and they got preferred rates that were partially paid for by the taxpayers. That preferential rate and treatment is about to end. Over the next 4 years, starting October 1 of this year, rates will increase for pre-firm structures or grandfather structures by 25% per year for the next 4 years, which is a huge impact on your back pocket. When your flood insurance costs exceed your mortgage, that can be a significant impact to a community. And in some cases, if you have structures that are located below base flood, where the flood line is, we saw an example at the Surveyors Conference in March with Warren McClure from FEMA. The first foot was $4,725. First foot below the flood level. Foot 2, they're required to submit to rates, and FEMA calculates what the rate of that risk will be, was $27,000. That's a huge impact on a homeowner. Some of the other changes, and all of these came about because of the number of natural disasters that have occurred in the country in the last few years. FEMA's $23 billion in the red. So Congress said, one, we got to make sure that you're applying the rules. Don't build things in a way that you know they're going to flood, and don't put them where you know they're going to flood. Secondarily, the cost of this is being passed on to the taxpayers. Every time the road goes out, the bridge goes out, you have to repair the pavement, you have to put the light poles back up. That's coming out of the taxpayer's pocket. So what they're saying, if there's ways to reduce those costs, and if you choose to live in a flood area, congratulations, but the taxpayers are no longer going to buy your house for the 4th time. So that's one impact. And we've advocated that you start a systematic floodplain management program where your files are permanent, so that when FEMA comes to audit your files, everything's ready. We've advocated that you expand your GIS so you can actually keep up with where flood areas are. And we're advocating with your HMPC that you install an alert FM system, which will notify you of any type of event or hazard. It can go to your cell phone, your email. Modules can go in schools. It's relatively inexpensive, and it works really, really well. TEMA has implemented it in 45 counties thus far.
What do you mean by relatively inexpensive?
All of the projects that we're proposing are no cash match. They're grant funds. The goal from TEMA and FEMA decided somewhere along the line, based on the millions of dollars that are in the red, that it's better to address the problem before than after. And one of the things that they can do to eliminate or reduce deaths is to install an alert system. They run about $41,000 to $45,000, but they're paid for through an emergency grant from FEMA. So what we've tried to do is look at the things you wanted to accomplish and then find sources of funding for those. As an example, for fire suppression, in a lot of rural areas, I know this is never a problem for you. You might have a little trouble finding water when you get to the fire because the pump tank runs out on the truck. So one of the things that the Tennessee Forestry Department funds is a retention area for water to fight fires, where you can actually refill the tank. That keeps you from having to go to a water tower at a distant location. So what we tried to do is look at things that you needed to do with your HMPC, and you were widely represented by your emergency folks and your administrative folks, and come up with ideas to reduce the cost to you. All right, the process that we used is called stapling. I won't go into great detail on this, but it's a way to assess a mitigation strategy to reduce impact by looking at the social, technical, administrative, political, legal, economic, and environmental impact of the strategy that you're proposing. And your folks went through that process without any blood on the floor, but it wasn't an easy examination because you really have to stop and think about what you're proposing to do, and whether it's doable, whether it fits, whether it will work for your community, and whether you can get it funded, and whether you can actually do it. All right, these are the mitigation strategies, and as you can see, there are scores and rankings on the right. They had to rank them in order of priority, doability, acceptance, technical expertise, training, and all of those sorts of things. So we went through all of that with them. All of these components are required as an element in the plan. So we went through each one of them with your committee. And sometimes, like extreme heat, it's public education. If it's 105 degrees, don't go outside without drinking water. We're suggesting that you might want to ask people to shelter in place. In other words, if it's 105 degrees, go inside, hydrate yourself, rather than setting up centers like you see in some cities where people come. Just stay in your house, and it's just a matter of education. And we've seen several instances in Tennessee over the last few years of young teenagers at football practice having a heart attack at the heat because they don't understand that it hurts their body. All right, mitigation funding sources. This, by the way, is on a website. All of these links are live. Your plan is on the website. All the information, all the minutes, all the meetings, everything is up there. But we've identified funding sources for every single mitigation strategy that your group came up with. For the first time in the history of FEMA, they are allowing communities to use CDBG funds, Community Development Block Grant funds, as match funds for mitigation projects. That's never happened before. I don't know that it will last very long, but it eliminates cash match for you in almost every circumstance. Once the plan is approved, and what we're asking you to do
It
is...
says they can do in-kind stuff. Would that be like taking the highway department or somebody doing the work? You know.
It can be, but that actually has a cash value.
Yeah.
In kind, for the purpose of this plan in drafting it, is the time your committee donated to it.
Okay.
The meeting space, the sheriff's training office, we used it a lot. We brought a projector and a laptop so they could see pictures and look at things. It's every single thing that you do, the advertisement that you put in the paper for the meeting tonight, those are all in kind.
Okay.
In kind means a not cash, but you can count labor for that. If it's a simple project of installing a culvert, count every hour of that time. And equipment use also has a time.
Yeah.
As an example, to fund your grant to write the plan, this computer and this has a value of $1,140. That's the FEMA rate for the use of this equipment for the number of hours that we met with your committee to go through this training process and go through the plan writing process. So it's ways to do that. We're asking you tonight to approve the draft plan. It is not in final stage yet because it needs to be reviewed by TEMA to make sure it's complete and contains all the elements. Once TEMA is done, if they recommend or require changes, we'll make them. And then it goes off to FEMA for review. So that's a second round of review. So it goes through 2 review processes and then it comes back to you for final adoption. Now, the draft plan is completed. Your Hazard Mitigation Planning Committee recommended it forward to you on April the 18th this year. We met, went over all the elements of the plan, the chapters, and they recommended it to all the jurisdictions, and each town, the town of Woodbury and the city of Auburntown, have it on their agenda for adoption as well of the draft plan. Now, where can you see the hazard mitigation plan? This is live, and if you will provide email to us, we have a sign-in sheet. If you'll provide us your email, we'll send you this link. But you actually have, it's going to be slow, so there it is. You actually have a project website. This is the project website. We built the site for you when we started doing this. All minutes, all interactions, all information, everything done for the plan, with the plan, and to the plan is on this website. If you'll go to the left of the screen to project updates, you will notice that this meeting is advertised on this website. Your meeting here tonight. We had a public hearing right before your meeting, but every document, every chapter, every set of minutes, and every note is on this website for the public and for you. The plan will rest for 30 days while it's under review. We'll take comments from anybody and suggestions from anybody. Then the HMPC will meet one final time to consider those, whether to accept those. Every once in a while, somebody recommends stuff like fire all the politicians. We can't really put that in a hazard mitigation plan. But we let the committee tell us not to put it in there because we don't make these decisions, you do. That's your website. I would encourage all of you to visit it.
Why wasn't that link included in our information when we could have reviewed it before this meeting?
I have no idea. Emails are sent out to the HMPC. They're sent out to everybody on the committee. But that link has been up and available since the very first day that you approved the committee and the interaction. So I think several of your commissioners received emails, and Kevin sits on the committee. Several people receive those every time we meet every month. So, are there questions from the commission at all? I noticed that
About what is the turnaround time to get both of those reviews?
we're trying really hard. The reason that we worked so hard to get your plan completed and in compliance is that the grant funding window for TEMA and FEMA starts October 1. So if you have any hope of gaining any funds from FEMA and or TEMA this year, those applications have to be filed in September. So to answer your question directly, Mr. Chairman, about 3 days, we did Sequatchie County's plan and sent it to TEMA for review, and Mr. Wickham, who is the review entity for TEMA for mitigation, turned that plan around in 3 days. 0 changes, 0 revisions, 0 comments. He said it was one of the most complete, comprehensive, well-written plans he'd ever seen. The turnaround time for FEMA was 42 days. So if we can send it in now, get the review done, send it on to FEMA, it will be completed in time for you to pursue projects and grant funds for this year.
When are Woodbury and Auburn Town gonna vote?
I believe that the city of Woodbury may, or town of Woodbury may have already had their vote. I spoke to Alan
They
Haskell.
approved it first this month.
And they already did theirs. Auburn Town, I don't remember when their meeting was, but I spoke to Mayor Turney and he said zero chance of it not being approved.
Okay. Any questions, Sharon?
We'd like to offer our thanks to you and to your committee. They worked really hard. It was a lot of information to get through. I see that Tim Bell has joined us. Tim, if you don't mind if I ask you, was the process good for you?
Yeah, it's very comprehensive.
All right. Does anybody have any more questions? Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
And do I hear a motion to approve the Hazard Mitigation Act?
Make a motion.
Kevin George made it. Todd Hollingsworth seconded it. Call the roll.
Mark Barker.
Yes.
Russell Reed.
Not having a chance to read this, I vote no.
Todd Hollingsworth.
Yes.
Jimmy Mingle.
Yes.
Jim Bush.
Yes.
Kevin George.
Yes.
Ted Higgins.
Yes.
Tony Deal.
Yes.
Kevin Mooneyham.
Yeah.
Steve Clark. 1 no. 1 absent. Motion carried.
Okay. Moving on to number 12. Discuss and vote on sunset for the Cannon County wheel tax sticker for schools. And this is the $40 one, not the $10 one.
Correct. Have you got a copy of that? There's not one in the packet. And I gave Bob my copy of
You
it
gave Bob your copy.
at our last meeting. I thought he'd have it with us.
In our packet.
I know, but I've got my other packet.
We may have to wait.
Because I looked on that, I was like, what is that? I even looked up online and I couldn't find nothing.
It's a wording issue
Well, it's
in
weighted
the,
on
that's what
in the original. We just
Well,
need to fix
okay.
it.
Nothing changes, what you're
No,
saying,
we-
other than just the
And
terminology.
actually, the vote that was taken in the election, the referendum vote on that, if I understand right, would override the commission's vote. But it just needs to be, correct in the minutes.
There's a-
10 years from now, somebody else
There's
looks
an
at
error
it.
in the old minutes is what it
Yes.
is.
Yes.
And everybody except for Billy Youngblood, I think, is still alive. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And we all knew what we had voted for, and we have commented since then on what we voted for, but we didn't get it down right. I don't have my copy of it.
Let's just,
We're gonna put this on
we'll get a
next
copy and
month's
bring it next
agenda.
month and have it in the packet.
We'll put this on next month's agenda.
We just need to clean it up.
Yeah.
What looks right.
It just needs to be reaffirmed what the intent was. All right. Now, that brings us down to other business, and I'm going to recognize Glenn Steakley with the Audit Committee. he's been meeting, and just, do you need to update us at all?
Not at this point.
Okay.
And I'd like to speak to you about after the meeting.
Okay.
Budget committee.
That'll be fine. All right, another thing I wanted to mention, if you looked at the door when you came in, the budget committee is meeting Thursday night at 6 p.m. Okay? And,
Diane, do you wanna, you got that list of who's gonna be here?
It's downstairs.
Downstairs, okay. I know the sheriff's gonna be here and the circuit court clerk's gonna be here.
The trustee, and parking master. I tried to get everybody in for us, some people couldn't come, so. Our building, our office. That's the most of
I know the circuit court clerk has got an issue that's gonna have to be dealt with. So if you ain't got nothing to do, that might be a good one to be here to get it from the, get it straight from them, you know.
County clerk wants to meet with them because the state is doing away with their computer system there. They quit first of July.
okay, that's fine.
And Daryl's gonna have
Set
some
up,
stuff on his
just get on the agenda with Diane Hickman,
Okay.
and we'll try to have so many each week that we meet. And also on other business, and I'll turn it over to everybody else. Jim, what did you want? Do you have anything in other business?
Yes, we need to have Ms. Bedford from the REACH program.
Okay, I was gonna recognize
She's
her.
gonna
Yeah.
address us about some of the problems that she's having.
Okay,
Gentlemen, I've got to go work a wreck, y'all excuse me.
thank you, Kevin. Linda, you wanna come on up?
Will you
Just
come on up
there.
here, please?
Jim had asked me to come and just kindly update you at where REACH is and what we've done this year. We've had a good year so far. We focused on math, reading, and science. We've served 220 students, 127 at the grammar school, 93 in credit recovery. 43 seniors will graduate due to being in credit recovery this year. That's either one subject or several subjects. But 43 is what's been in credit recovery. Our two grants this year are 21st Century for $97,000 and LEAPS for $56,225. We have one more year on both of these grants at that same amount. At the end of March, the sliding scale fee had taken in approximately $13,000, and the food and miscellaneous had taken in $6,500 approximately, for a total of approximately $172,000. And I've applied for a new 21st Century grant that was due on the 3rd, May the 3rd, for $200,000 for next year. I don't know if I get it or not, but I've already made application for it. About 2 or 3 months ago, I met with Melanie, the county auditor, and she said everything looked good with the exception of us not making the 3-day rule a few times. And she had advised us to open the bank account at First National Bank, make daily deposits. Once a month, then I write a check to the trustee and empty that account out. And we have done that. We have done all of that. We've been monitored by both of the grants, 21st Century and LEAPS. We've been monitored by the SWARPS program of UT, and that's the program that keeps up with how much time every kid comes to REACH or credit recovery. And that's by their name, their grade, the state and county identification number, and the exact amount of time each day that child is there. We've also been monitored by the backpack program and the state snack program, and we've not had any problems with any of our monitoring. At the end of March, an advisory board was formed for REACH. At this time, we have about 16 members. They're a really good working group, and they've already had 3 meetings. And I want to thank Jim and Mike for serving on that board and guiding us on it. We're looking for anyone to serve on that board that has a real passion for children, and we invite anybody that would like to be on it. The main problem we've had is about the end of March, it appeared that we were running approximately $11,000 short for the year. I presented this to the board for discussion. Shutting the program down was discussed, but due to the displaced children, the need for homework help for struggling students, hardships on parents, and the possibility of losing next year's grants and enrollment for next year, we decided to try another route. It was decided that I would lay off 2 staff members for the remainder of the year. This would include their salaries, benefits, and insurance. This would reduce the $11,000 approximately $6,500. A lot of this shortage was due to having more kids on scholarship than we've ever had before, and a lot of the ones that pay are on the minimum scale of $5 a week. People are out of work and they can't pay the fees. We also have some families that's on the Atlas program. That, I don't know if everybody's familiar with that, but that's homeless and hungry. According to the grants, we cannot turn anyone down due to inability to pay. The board discussed fundraising, and Mike checked with Melody to see if a group of individuals could hold fundraisers and donate all proceeds to REACH. She said we could go that route, and a group of Friends for After School Kids have already booked a horse show for August the 3rd at the Pemberton Arena, and they've already got other plans for some other fundraisers also. All of the proceeds would be donated then to REACH. REACH can't actually put the event on, but they can put it on and then donate it to REACH. We're looking into applying for a 501c3, and that would enable us to be eligible for more grants and open us up to other options. This program is very much needed. We do have hungry and homeless children here in the county. Some of them's living in cars. We have 2 families that are living in an apartment. There's 9 people living in a 2-bedroom apartment here in the county. Please allow us to continue this program. It's really a good program.
How many schools does it cover now?
It covers Short Mountain, West Side, Woodbury, and the high school. If we get this new grant, it will include Woodland. They suggested we included Woodland.
I know I talked to Melinda over at Auburn.
Yes, I've
and
talked to
they
her.
were interested in it, but for something about funding or some
Yes,
reason.
we don't have the funding for it.
Will the 2 laid off employees pick back up when you get started on the next year?
One of them will, but I think I can arrange it where I won't have to bring one back. And she was ready to retire anyway.
So that will help you budget
Yes, it
next
will.
year.
Now, as we discussed, what is your total that you're gonna be short?
Right at $5,000. And hopefully, the plans of them having a horse show, their plan is to pay that $5,000 or whatever they can raise, whatever it takes to raise that.
Is that gonna be in enough time before you run out of money?
It won't be by June the 30th, but Friday is our last day for this year.
This coming Friday is your last day
Yes.
of this year.
Mm-hmm. Last day of school.
How do you determine which schools are going involved in it and which ones are not?
Honestly, most of that was done before I took it over. How it had been determined of how to shut them, when they shut down, was the number of kids that they had there. Short Mountain was targeted to be shut down, but we've got that one built back up to around 17 to 19 students there. So we have been able to keep it open. If it gets, we had less than 10 at East Side, and the state, the grant's the one that told us to shut it down.
So East Side is shut down?
East Side is, yes, it was shut down before.
So you got Woodland, West Side, Short Mountain, Woodbury?
Woodlands does not have one. If we
But
get this new grant, it would be opened under that one.
West Side, Woodbury.
And Short Mountain.
Short Mountain.
Mhm.
And that's
And the high school.
How many are at West Side?
27, I believe. Right now, I think we've had as many as 29. but they come-
Woodbury's the biggest one.
Oh, yeah.
By a long shot.
Mhm.
If you've got kids on the sliding scale though, and they're in it, if you've got 20 kids on sliding scale, or 20 kids and say 15 of them are on sliding scale, and they pay their bill, that's a benefit to it. That
Yeah,
helps it instead
it
of a
does.
hurt.
Right. And plus, we also, on the snack food program, we get so much per child that we serve snack to. Even if they're on scholarship, we still get something to feed them with. we have to feed them a snack. So we get the sliding fee that we take in, that's what that is.
Well, I know Auburn is really interested in it. I know Linda was, and
When I first started with the program, they had a good program over there, a real good program. But the numbers started dropping off after that.
Any other questions for Linda? Well, I want to publicly state, from my perspective, it's down at Westside and up here at Woodbury. Linda and her helpers are doing an excellent job. They're keeping these kids from, going home and nobody at home, or helping them with their lessons and the credit recovery. Those things are a benefit to our community. I mean, we'd rather Linda and them be training them after school than Darryl getting a call when somebody's in some kind of meanness somewhere. But we want to be self-sufficient,
Right.
if at all possible, and these grants have been good, and I want to compliment you though for the hard work that you do.
Thank you.
Okay, Linda, now you said you're gonna shut down at the end of May,
May the 17th, Friday.
17th?
Mhm.
All right. But in order to keep on going, right?
No, that's the last day of school.
Is that the last day of school? All right. So what we're looking at now, what do you need?
Well, we'll be about, did you not say about 5,000 in the hole? By the end of June. That's not today, that'd be by the end of June.
By the end of the county's fiscal year.
Yes. And that's
And
like
then you'll
the
want
end
to
of
open back up when school starts in
Yes.
August, in the middle of August.
Right.
And we also talked about the stuff that was owed from the prior administration, all that, you have paid back all but how much?
Do you know how much is left on that?
But for 2 years, you paid back on
I
it.
did.
Yes.
They paid
Right.
back on it for 2 years.
Linda's always done what she said that she would pay it back.
And the only reason they didn't this year is because of some people that are on sliding scale fell on hard times.
Exactly.
And we
they
have
couldn't-
more than we have ever had on sliding
And they
scale.
couldn't pay their child's bill, but they can't say, well, little Johnny's got to go back home. So we're caught between a rock and a hard place. And those people, though, will start paying, maybe next year.
Right.
They'll be able to pay their sliding scale.
What I'm saying, if it takes a little boost, and with Linda doing what she's done in the past and said that she'd pay it back, I don't have a problem with it, the way that she's running everything. So, I mean, this is something we need to look at.
And another thing we want,
having to work.
talking about it beforehand is a lot better than
Exactly.
getting behind. And
Blindsided.
that's exactly right.
Well,
This
that's
is
when
the right
Jim
way
asked
to
me
do
to
it.
come and update everybody.
So everybody knows what's
That's
going
exactly
on.
right. That's exactly right. Any other body have a question for Linda? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I got one
Hard
before you
work.
leave. Since the last day of school is Friday, what is the extra 5,000 for?
Well, that'll be to pay payroll, this week's payroll, and then Amber Milligan is the secretary, and she will work 2 more weeks, and then I will work. We've got end-of-year grants that we have got to finish out with them, and end-of-year reports.
That's all I wanted to know.
Right.
I've got one other question. What could Auburn do, if there's anything, to get back into the program?
If we could get another grant, that would be it.
Pony up.
Well, it may be
Well-
Auburn, it may be somebody else,
Right.
You don't know what decides for, I mean, you say if Woodland,
If we could get another grant, I mean, we could write that grant for, you write the grant for
For a
a
certain
school. And the lady that's over the grant and all, she's the one that, she looks at the figures and the size of the schools and that kind of thing, and she's the one that recommended that we write Woodland in this time.
It's a numbers thing.
Yes.
be nice if one of these kids that we're helping would hit the big time
Oh, it would.
and donate a little cash.
It would.
Well, even if they just get to be tax-paying citizens, that.
Yeah, if we don't have to feed them in jail, we're money
That's
ahead.
exactly right. That's exactly right. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other business?
Thea, have you heard anything about our solid waste?
We can.
I was telling you, I'm having a response from Bob. The last thing he was going to do is email Kim Rayl, like as she requested, to have something in writing, to give to her boss to go ahead to work on RFP.
Okay.
The boss is going to put everything on hold until there's something in writing, because of the several conferences that have been going on with the immediate center and other things that maybe are uncomfortable with allowing her to put time in.
Okay. So she needs something
She needed something in email form or a
just from
paper.
Bob?
From Bob as our
As a chairman.
chairperson.
Okay.
And to the best of my knowledge, this was 2 weeks ago, we talked, he was going to send that information.
Okay.
And
We may
I
have.
questioned him before this because I thought it was his team.
Okay.
Okay. At the meeting, under other? And Thea, I was gonna recognize you next, but thank you. Thank
Sorry,
you,
Mark.
That's okay. That's okay. I don't mind at all. Faye wants something.
I just didn't know if Mike had presented it to you or not. On April the 22nd, our last Homeland Security grant was audited, and that one also passed with flying colors.
Okay. Anybody else? Fire department's doing all right?
Yeah, we just got done with some classes.
All right. And
Jim had
Todd
asked-
has something.
Jim had asked the insurance committee to meet, and I was gonna explain to him why we didn't. There wasn't enough information and enough time to get together and talk to Mitch.
Right.
And, on June 4th and 5th in Gatlinburg, they're having a how to successfully navigate through this healthcare reform act. And I'm gonna go to that, and hopefully I can bring back some information for everybody. And we'll try to get it before the end of the budget process.
Okay.
Hopefully it won't hit us this year, but we need to know before.
Well, see, as of January the 1st, 2014, everything starts being implemented. And what they go by, Bob and I, we went to Franklin on this same subject. And they, as far as the Obamacare is set up, it goes by minimum coverage with affordability. And they go by the employee's gross income. And they have a formula of 9.5 divided into whatever their gross income is. Now, if this formula comes up, say if you gross $1,000, that's $95 on a premium at 9.5, right? Okay. If the premium is more than that formula dictates that they should pay, then it's up to the employer to make the difference up. And what we're going to have to look at in general as far as the county is to get our lowest paid employee and have everything based on their salary so it will cover everybody, including them. The main thing about this, they do not care about the employee's family, their spouse, or their children. What they are concerned about is the employee being covered by the employer. That's what it bases it on. Now, if we have this same formula, and if it is offered to the employee in that formula, which he can pay, if he does not take the insurance that we give him, then they are in turn fined $2,000 for penalties for not doing this. So, we're going to have to look at ways where we can go ahead and streamline this from our cheapest employee, which will cover everyone. Now, there's three things that the federal government has not made their decision on. The highway department, the county employees, and your schools. They have not made up their mind if they're wanting to combine all three of them or keep them as separate entities. So we're having to wait on that. And as of January the 1st, 2014, everybody's going to be taxed $63 a year per member of their household to try to help implement this Obamacare. So, I mean, you know, it's just a slippery slope on the paperwork on this. So, I mean, this is going to be something we're going to have to look at budget time.
They won't be fined if they have insurance through their spouse's work, though. It's only if they don't have any
It's only
insurance.
if they don't take any insurance.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
Yeah, I just want to
But
make that clear.
they've got to show proof.
They gotta show proof of it, that's right, and it's through the IRS too.
Exactly.
You gotta do it on your tax return. Now, that's what's,
Your Department of Labor, your
You trust
internal
the
revenue,
IRS though.
and,
They got
Department of Labor, Internal Revenue, and, let's see, what's it up? You got three different organizations that's gonna be
scrutinizing that.
scrutinizing. You have to go by each
Yeah.
other's.
Thank you, thank you.
So
And
you
thank you
gotta-
for going to Franklin too.
So you got a problem too, though. You was talking about taking insurance through your spouse's employee. A lot of companies, I know where I work, if your spouse can get insurance through where they work, they have to take it because they won't insure them through where I work. Your spouse is required to take
Get your
insurance
own.
where they get
Right.
it.
Like mine will pick up anything extra over hers.
So,
but
See, if a lot of them do
Take
that,
all
see,
ours.
they'll be
Take
forced to
all
have
ours
to
up.
take it, you know.
Any other discussion? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.